welcome back to Never on the Back Foot. I think this is one, test that we are really, really excited to discuss because of just how it played out. I think both Naman and Hariprasad will agree with me that at the end of day four, if someone had told us that India would be winning the test match, we would be just laugh it off. We would not take them seriously because what was that final day, right? I think this was probably one of the most, gripping finishes that we've seen in modern day test cricket. India pulling off what a nail-biting finish, a six-run win over England to draw the series 2-1. I was talking about this on another podcast as well. This was one of the situations where I wish it was a timeless test, or we could see more tests, like not just a five-match test series. That's again me being very greedy here, but the series at large, right? It's been quite interesting in that sense. So the whole point of this line is to obviously dissect the fifth test match. We'll also probably review, the series that it has been and just put everything in perspective if that sort of makes sense. Naman joins us back. He's no longer retired hurt. He is very much at the crease to, entertain all of us. As always, we have Hariprasad. This is what our sixth consecutive live together. It's been quite the fun journey. So, guys, without any further ado, let's get started. I'll start with Naman on this one because he's joining us today, gracing us with his presence. Naman, your first thoughts on the match at large. We missed you last time around for the fourth test, but India just, forging such a strong comeback and a win, definitely exciting.
Absolutely, Neha. First of all, missed you all, missed being on the show with you all the last time as well. But I think you guys nailed it, discussing the draw that we had over there at Manchester. And about the match, I mean, from my side, the thoughts would be coming out for both the matches because not being here the last time, and they've really like day five, heading into day five, was really like the scenario where the odds were completely against India, and the manner in which the team went out, batting out the entire day up at Manchester, and then over here within those 8 overs, they unleashed hell yet again to pick up those wickets, and the results are there to be seen, and it was absolutely thrilling. The manner in which we started the day, of course, was not ideal with the first two deliveries itself going for a boundary, and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, I think this is going to be a quick one. Even before the new ball can be taken, we are probably done." But the manner in which Siraj bowled and even Prasidh was able to ably support him from the other end, it it just posed too many questions for the English batters to answer, and in pursuit of chasing down the total in a hurry, they did not really play in a sensible manner. Like we go on to say, baseball with brains. Probably the brains were not in the picture at that point of time, and I think now we only believe in Siraj Bhai because game changer player he is also. So that's just a very sweet thing to look at. Probably 1 year, I think 12 to 14 months back, that game happened in West Indies, wherein Siraj said the same thing about Bumrah, how he changed the game, and now it was his time. And in the absence of Bumrah, the way in which he stepped up, it's like a full circle within these 13, 14 months. So yeah, that's the romantics of the game. Really like to look at these things, and there's the little things, as Harsha Bhogale likes to call them. There's some things under the entire scorecard. As we go on, there's a lot more to discuss, but yeah, just to begin with, it's a very wholesome feeling, to be honest, for that guy. And knowing how Lords ended for him and how this could have ended for him with the dropped catch. But I think life can't be that cruel on a person at any point of time. So good to see it from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously stories like this, right, that really keeps us fans hooked on to. And I think Siraj, we will have to again dedicate an entire episode, man, the kind of test series that he has had, not just match. And the excitement clearly not lost in our live chat. We actually have a first question as well, directed at Hari Prasad, which goes on to ask, what caused England's collapse in that final innings, right? I think this was a question I'd probably save for later, but no better time than now to, just get started with that, because at one point they were literally cruising, and then to just lose plot in the manner they did. I think even Ashwin had a few interesting things to say about cricketing gods not being in England's favor, and like a bunch of other things. But if you had to objectively look at it, Hari Prasad, how would you assess just what went wrong with England?
First things first, glad to have Naman back on the show. Missed you around last time, but yeah, I'm happy to see you back here. And yeah, I mean, going to the game, I mean, I would say it was. I think they missed Stokes in that position. I mean, he's been a safety blanket for them throughout the whole series, contributing with those 30, 40 odd runs, and then getting a century as well in the Manchester Test, if I'm not wrong. So some experience in the form of Ben Stokes would have been ideal, I would say. But I think credit should go to our bowlers, Siraj and Prasidh, being the pick of the bowlers in the first and the second innings, to be honest, and they were no less in the second innings. I would say, even despite the batting depth that England had, apart from Josh Tongue being the tail ender and Vokes not being available to bat as well, I think they defied everything. The Indian bowlers defied everything and still went on to break through the whole England lineup, and credit to Gill as well over there. I mean, trusting with Siraj and Prasid to have the bowl those overs, the tough overs where it looked like the England batters could take the game away from India. And I mean, Prasid, despite the fact that he's not had a good series here at England, and despite that, he was trusted the whole game. I think he had a phenomenal game this time around, picking up around 3 wickets in the first innings and 4 in the second. So I would say, I mean, he's had sorry, 4 in the first innings and 4 in the second innings as well. So I would say he had a terrific game. Did not go for a lot of runs either. I mean, did have his spells here and there where he was getting tonked around the ball, I think, by Brook and Root. But I think he came back strong and then picked those wickets whenever required. I think he was hitting his lines consistently. I think it went on to the fact that just after session ends, I don't know what happens. I think the dressing room talks are very strong or something, and that kind of affects the bowlers, and they come back and make a brilliant comeback over there. And I think that's what happened in day 4 as well. I think something clicked in the dressing room after the break, and they were all around the English batters, and they absolutely had no reply to it. So I would say, I think credit to Gill as well. I mean, to back the bowlers to bowl those tough overs when it felt like Brook and Root could take the game away from India, and it felt like that until I think after tea or something. So I would say credit to the bowlers and credit to Gill as well for backing them. So I would say, all in all, a really good performance by both the bowlers. I know we giving a lot of credit to Siraj over here for the fifer that he took in the end, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I might ask for us someday, but DSP won't. Playing all 5 games this series and being in top-notch fitness, delivering whenever the team needs him to, and despite missing out Jasprit Bumrah, and just continues where Bumrah is not available and Siraj continues to deliver, leading the pace attack. So I would say, I mean, phenomenal. Hats off to Mohammed Siraj over there, and I mean, phenomenal. But having said that, I think a lot of credit should go to Prasidh Krishna as well for this game. I think a lot of improvements from the previous games that he played, and he's shown that why he's trying to repay the faith that has been shown by Gambhir, Gill, and the selectors as well. So hats off to him too. And all in all, yeah, an entertaining game, and glad that we won.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be one of the wins that I think as fans and just onlookers, right, we're going to savor for the longest time because of the nature of the win and how we didn't see it coming. But it also felt like a very wholesome team effort. We will obviously break down each of those performances too. Let's look at this interesting stat that India has probably lost the toss in all of the 5 tests. This is their consecutive, 15th consecutive toss loss. And I remember reading the stat that, it's an anomaly. That the odds of it happening is just 1 in 32,768 apparently. So, Naman, let me come to you with this one. You're, man of stats. So, I mean, what did you make of this, man? And when will this voodoo, toss voodoo just be broken and we could see, an Indian men's team captain actually just being on the right side of the result and actually deciding what they want to do?
Well, I think you put it from your end itself. These are just stats to be seen. Like 15 games in a row, all 5 tests in a series, we didn't win the toss. I mean, stats. No matter how many you dig up, no matter how much you manipulate, you can just you should just be able to manipulate them and bring out whatever point you want to make out of them. That's what I feel beyond a point about stats nowadays in the game. although they matter, but yeah, beyond the point, those are just numbers, and you need to look at the picture beyond them. Hari, no offense to you, man, but yeah, that's what you would say about stats at this point of time. And given the toss, I think about that, I would like to slightly quote Ravi Shastri here and just replace one word with another. He used to say, "Pitch ko nikalo game se, bahar mein gaya pitch." I think this Indian team under Gambhir and Gill has gone on to say, "Toss ko nikalo, bahar mein gaya toss." We are here to play, we are here to win, and that's what they went on to show. So, well, obviously, maybe in a T20 game, the toss probably doesn't have that much of an impact these days unless there's a lot of dew that is about to set in. In an ODI, probably, in very hot conditions, a team would like to bat first rather than field first. But in a test match is the place where a toss can really have a lot of influence, especially in conditions like those of England. And we have seen it throughout that on many days, England did have the better conditions for them. They were bowling when there was cloud cover, they were batting when there was a lot of sunlight. So the conditions in that regard did favor them, and the toss was proving to be crucial. But the manner in which the Indian team also fought back, despite being down for so much time, they still managed to find their way and win the game. It's a testament to the kind of mental resolve that a team is currently carrying and the resilience that is there in everyone's head. And looking back, I mean, although the context was slightly different, but like if we look back around 4 or 5 years ago, uh, in Australia, it was after that grilling draw in Sydney that we went on to win that test in Gabba against all the odds. So sometimes I think even DK and Harsha spoke about this on ClickBuzzer. Sometimes these hard-fought draws can really give that kind of motivation, that kind of energy to any team that just go on and they keep fighting, they keep fighting, they keep fighting, and manage to sneak out a win against all the odds. So that's where I believe the team did really take the conditions out of the picture, take the toss out of the picture with regards to their play. I mean, and it's a complete team effort. Like we are talking about Siraj, we'll go on to talk about a few others, be it Prasidh, be it Yashasvi with his 100. But it was an absolute team effort that ensured in this victory and to make sure that the series stands and ends the way that it did.
Absolutely, Naman. And I think this is somewhere I'll agree with you that, the toss is obviously not something that's within your control. Something which Shubman Gill was saying, right? That obviously you can't control things like this, but, winning the match is still something we can probably focus on. But just talking briefly about Gautam Gambhir himself, Hariprasad, I'd probably come to you with this one. I think prior to the match, there were just so many calls of, wanting to sack him, just the discourse and, him not being the ideal sort of a, head coach to be a part of this setup and all of that. But do you think this win has kind of dispelled all of that, at least for some time, and even just the whole controversy, right? Before the test, he had a very that spat with the oval curator and all of that. It just wasn't ideal, right? So again, what have you made of Gigi and his tenure so far? Do you think this test has probably saved his career for a bit?
Coming to the spat that happened with Lee Fortis, I mean, the game basically started before the test match. I mean, before the day play of day one. So, I mean, yeah, the spat was unfortunate. I mean, a lot of misunderstandings and stuff over there. And Lee Fortis and Gambhir got into a fight. And I mean, a lot of people have been telling that Lee Fortis is not the easiest curator to be mingling with. I think he had a interaction like an argument with the Indian women's team as well back in the days. I think a year or two ago. But yeah, I mean, basically the game started off the field and then the day one came. But coming to the exact question, like whether this test has saved Gambhir's, spot as a test coach, I would still be a little iffy because maybe the team is getting more adjusted to the fact that they're basically adjusting to the new strategies that Gambhir has put forward, that is to have batting depth and stuff. But again, I mean, it's always a hit or miss to have like a batting depth over here because you need to have your best bowlers or best bowlers out there at the end of the day. And I think things are slowly changing, probably a little more towards having Gambhir again. But Again, completely not sure because if you go to an Australia or something, and they would terrorize you, and that's what happened in the Border Gavaskar Trophy as well. I know I think I've spoken about the Border Gavaskar Trophy a lot, but then those scars still are there. And despite having, I mean, having won the last two series and then go on to lose this one, so might not work out every time. And there were situations where it felt like the game could be taken away from us, and we also saw that. I think having Shardul over here and there, bowling these few overs and not helping out, and he's there just because of the fact that he can bat a bit. I know he did respond with 40 odd runs in Manchester, but then I mean that was like one of the test scores that he hit. I mean, having other bad performances in the tour. So I would say that it's always going to blow hot and cold, and we've ever since Virat Kohli took up the captaincy, I think he's always had had the best bowling attack, go out there and bowl, and his motto is to pick 20 wickets at the end of the day because bowlers, I mean, they say catches win you matches. I mean, sorry, batters win you matches, but bowlers win you tournaments. But I mean, I know this is a test game, but at the end of the day, you need your attack to be picking 20 wickets in the test match, and having come down to that, I think picking your test for best bowlers is always important. We had the spin. I mean, we had the spin duo of Ashwin and Jadeja back in home, and then we had the pace bowling quartet of Bumrah, Shami, Siraj, and Ishant Sharma. And ever since, I think a lot has changed. Bumrah has been in and out. Siraj has been a constant. Shami is nowhere to be seen. Neither is Ishant Sharma. And new faces have come in, the likes of Akash Deep and Prasidh Krishna, and they're taking their time to ease into the squad and stuff like that. And the hope, I mean, as long as these strategies help to win games, that's fine, and win series as well. But having won this game, at the end of the day, we didn't end up winning the series. I mean, it's still a three. It's still a 2-2 draw, and the series was shared. Credit to the bowlers, credit to the team for winning the game. But having said that, it's a World Test Championship at the end of the day, and you need to be there at the finals in England, I think, which will be happening in 2 years' time. So every point is important, and if it goes on to go inconsistently where we just win a game and then end up losing or drawing the next game, I don't think that's going to help. So if the strategy is working out, and as long as we see consistent wins in the coming days, I would probably stick to this. But then can't say. I mean, does I don't see it. I don't see it working out, to be honest.
Yeah, fair point there. And I think only time will tell, how the Indian team management wants to, continue persisting with Gambhir. Just give him that sort of a longer rope, wait for this WTC cycle to get over. Although, it's like a longish one. So let's see how that sort of pans out. But now I'll come to you on this one, right? Like, again, before we start dissecting each innings or each day of play, like, what did you make of just the team combos, right? Opted for by both the teams. England went in for a couple of changes. India had also, a couple of forced changes, perhaps, with Rishabh Pant having to miss out, Dhruv Jurel coming in. So, just all in all, what did you think of the playing 11s?
I think England should have resorted to this combination a long time back, like we had previously discussed as well, that going with four frontline paces would have been the best combination, along with having the spin of Joe Root and Jacob Bettel to also chip in with a few. And especially, it is a lot to do basis conditions, but throughout the five tests, I don't think, barring a couple of hours here or there, I don't think the pitch really responded a lot to spin. It was absolutely pace friendly, and that's where I felt that this was absolutely the best combination that they could have put on the park. Of course, the absence of Ben Stokes, they dearly missed him being there on the field with the ball more than anything, and also with the bat, given the way he scored that 150 odd at Manchester and really took them to a pole position in that game. So combination wise, this is what they should probably look forward to do. However, in the Ashes, it would be a question because there the spinners do come into the picture once we go towards day 3, 4, and 5. So there it will be a question: how are they going to play with that? Are they going to go back to Liam Dawson? Would they still have the faith in Shoaib Bashir? That's going to be a question to look into. But like my save would have been to probably like let go of Crawley and have Jacob Bettel at the top of the order. But given that he has got a few runs, I think he has, in the minds of the captain and the coach, I think he has got he has shown enough to hold on to that spot for the Ashes. I still feel that he still should have had a lot more to prove to hold on to that. So combination wise, this is what I feel about England. Let's see. We can discuss later on what can they do in the Ashes and what not. And about India, I still feel that somewhere or the other, all of the results are reasonably favorable across the series and in the test match as well. I still feel that having a Kuldeep Yadav would have really made a huge difference because he is your wicket taker. He is the guy who can take wickets when the surface is not doing anything, when the ball is cold, whether it's swinging or not, whether it's seaming or not, if the spinners are not getting a lot of drift, not getting something off the pitch. He's the guy that you can back to generate something off the deck and really beat the other players in his flight and even with his turn. So I still believe that there was scope to play Kuldeep in the series. Even if we have drawn the series, I still feel that he should be a part of our combination when we are playing overseas. At this point, like even Hari mentioned, there the team's focus was on having more batting depth, which is where Washi played. And with all respect to him, he did his job fantabulously well. At no point can you point a finger and say that Washi did not do this, did not do that. I think he's delivered beyond the expectations that somebody would have from him, with it being his very first tour in England. I mean, we've seen Ashwin not being able to get games in England, even when he has got them, not being able to deliver at such an extent. But Washi, in the few tests that he has played, he has shown a lot of promise with the bat. Of course, it was at Manchester, it was a batting friendly wicket, but still, in the situation that he was in, it was a brilliant effort. And of course, in this game as well, with the counter attacking knock at the end and that 39-run partnership with Prasidh. So he has shown all those glimpses. With the ball, also, he has shown the kind of drift that he's able to generate and the way he's been able to beat the batters. He has it in him to be a wonderful test match bowler. Should you pick him as a bowler ahead of Kuldeep at this point of time? Solely with regards to bowling skill, probably not. But given the entire context, they needed the batting, they needed the extra batting that Washi would have provided. They went with it, and let's give the credit where it's due. It did prove to be the difference in both these games. It did prove to be the difference between a 2-all and the possibility of a 4-1 as well. We could have been staring at a 4-1 had those extra runs by Washi not being there in the picture. So that's what I feel about the combinations with India. I mean, once they decide the three pacers, I mean, I thought that again, like Arshdeep should have probably gotten a debut somewhere in the series just to see how he can do, how he can swing the ball around. But the faith that was shown in Prasidh did deliver eventually. It took a bit longer than it should have. It tested all our patience, the team's, everybody's. But he did manage to step up where it was absolutely required. And it's still, even if he would bowl 10, 12 good deliveries and just bowl one delivery short, that anguish would come out of every fan. Dude, just bowl it fuller. Why are you bowling short again? Because that's how thin the margins were over there. But again, I think except Prasidh and Kuldeep, these are the only two names given the pool of players that was available who could have probably made a mark. Ishwaran, we would always go on to say that he probably deserves a debut sometime or the other. But given the way the series was poised at this point of time, and they had already been backing Sai Sudarshan and Karun Nair to find their place in the side, I don't think it was possible to give a chance to Ishwaran over here. Maybe in the future, maybe in the home series that's coming up, probably he can have it. But other than that, apart from these two, I don't think there was anything else that they would have done in the team combination.
Yeah, valid points there, Naman. I just remember seeing a lot of reels of people being very upset that Kuldeep didn't get any opportunities to play a single test on this tour, and so did Abhimanyu Ishwaran and Arshdeep Singh as well. But that's how team combinations are, and certain coaches and their philosophies of wanting to operate. But let's start talking about India's first innings itself, right? Hariprasad, I'll come to you on this one. India had a tough first innings, right? Folding for just 224 or so. The top order, again, failed to provide that sort of a solid start. That's where, I think when you look at Sai Sudarshan and Karun Nair, they were probably the only ones to show some sort of resistance, and you could see that temperament really sort of come through. So yeah, what did you make of India's first innings and just the way Gus Atkinson too was bowling, right? All of these factors.
Frustrating, I would say. I mean, did expect a good first inning score after how we played at Manchester. So it was pretty frustrating. I think the top order falling cheaply, and then uh, Karun Nair getting a game. I mean, that was kind of shocking. I thought his tour was done, but then here he is again batting at number five this time in place of Rishabh Pant. So I mean, he kind of responded with a 50. I think happy to see him there. Sai Sudarshan got a solid 38 as well. Could have gone to score more, but wasn't meant to be. So yeah, I mean, glad to see those two play. I mean, had a good partnership amongst themselves. But again, the other batters didn't really live up to the mark. I think Washington and Rujurel did give a little bit of a resistance, but then I think that was not enough at the end of the day. And all credit to the bowlers. I think a lot of changes in the England side this time. We had Jamie Overton coming in, Gus Atkinson coming in, Josh Dunn coming in back, and Vokes went on to play his fifth test as well. I mean, hats off to him. I think I'll come to that later on. But unfortunately, got injured during while fielding, so did not take any further part in the game until the very end. So I mean that would have hit them, but despite that, I think Gus Atkinson and the other bowlers really stepped up in the absence of him. And I mean Atkinson is someone who's been given like a lot of chances, and he's been proving why he's a good bowler. And I think he's there in all the other formats as well, and Tests being no exception. And he also has 100 at Lords, to be honest, against the West Indies where he scored. So having said that, I would say glad to see him back. I think he was away due to an injury and should have could have started the series as well had he been fit. But yeah, he was back, and I think he responded really well. And brilliant bowling, like altogether. I think he was consistently bowling good line and length, something that you expect of the English bowlers, and something that you expect of him as well. So happy, I mean, to see the way Atkinson bowled and he terrorized the Indian batters, and eventually we had to fall out for a party score of 224. So I mean, Pfeiffer and Josh Tongue just showing why he used to be like he was the leading wicket taker for a long time, and then was rested for the next two games, I think, and then came back and picked a 3-4 in the first innings. And hats off to him, I would say. I think he's also been shown that why the faith has been put in him as well. So having said that, I think absolute decimation by the England bowlers, and India was just bundled out for a party score over there. So I would give credit to the England bowlers over here, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think even in our comments, Hardik brings in the point of the conditions being tougher to bat, especially in that first innings. It was much more cloudy, and the pitch was certainly not dry at all. Also, being one of the reasons why India kind of stumbled. But one thing
I
that I
would
took from
actually say, just sorry to cut you
yes,
short there,
yes.
but I think it's been a tradition where any captain who wins the toss at the Oval ends up going to bowl first, and this was no exception here as well. I think Hollypop won the toss and chose to bowl. I think even he's had a he's had a fair share of bad luck at tosses as well, and he went on to win his first toss over here. And went on to bowl, and I think the bowlers really used the conditions well, like Hardik mentioned. So, having said that, I'd say I think hats off to the England bowlers at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And again, I think Hariprasad, when you were talking, you did mention this whole point of India losing wickets in clumps and then just, not having those partnerships and all of that. So, Naman, I'll probably come to you on this one about just India's first innings. When you just have a look at the scorecard, at one point, India was what, 218 for 7. They collapsed to 224 all out, right? And I think for the longest time, we've had this concern about India's tail end resistance or just the lack of it, right? And this really proving to be a absolute pain, when we tour overseas and all of that. So, Naman, again, what do you make of this? I mean, there's obviously no easy answer to this one, but when you compare India to, say, the likes of Australia, England, where the tail really wags, this is again proving to be that sort of a concern for India.
I think this collapse was really triggered by the rash shot that Washi played in that situation. Gus had been bowling short to him for quite some time, and he had missed once before as well, but he still went on for that shot and he holed out over there. So if he had probably shown a bit more maturity at that stage, because in the very previous game he had scored 100 against all the odds. So it's not that he cannot do that. He's coming fresh off 100. He was in the mindset. So and given that it was not very close to losing out partners on the other end as well. You still had 3 wickets in hand, and you had other folks at the other end. You had an Akash Deep at the other end who can hold his bat, which we went on to see in the second innings how well he could do that. So probably, in that moment, Washi could have been a bit more patient and not given into that tactic by the English bowlers. And once Washi was gone, I think it was just a matter of when and not if about when the Indian batting is going to fold. So that was a critical moment wherein if things would have gone a bit differently, we could have had a few more runs. We could have had a couple of more partnerships down the order. Because that's exactly no. Washi did the same thing in the second innings, but there he did it once just 1 wicket was left, and that was Prasidh. So he managed to farm the strike and play the aggressive mode over there. But in the first innings, it was too soon to go for it because you had somebody like an Akash Deep at the other end. And not just Akash Deep, you saw what Siraj did in the previous game at Lords as well. You saw that he can also hang around if required in to that extent. But speaking of that as well, I don't know what it is with Indian tailenders that only when the odds are absolutely stacked against do they manage something to just hang around for some time. We saw it with Siraj back in Gabba as well when he was trying to shield Natarajan from the pace of Stark and his bounce and Stark and Cummins. So I mean, why can't they just take every innings every time they go out onto bat? Be like, we don't have to get out, because in that situation it is not just about the runs that you're getting out of them. Even if you manage to hang around for 5 overs, the opposition, it really stings the opposition. And no one can know it better than us Indians, because it has happened to us so many times that the opposition batters have gone on to play long and just score those extra runs. Sam Curran, Chris Wokes, all of them are great examples of just annoying us to the core with their partnerships down the order. So that's how I read the collapse. I think. Well, obviously, you have to say that even the top order could have probably gotten a bit more runs, but at that time the conditions were such, the ball was swinging around, doing all sorts of things. But that was probably the trigger point of the collapse in the first innings.
Yeah, very true. And India, eventually ended up getting to 224. But as Hariprasad rightly said, due credit to the way England just went about their business, be it, Gus Atkinson or Josh Tongue, just being at their best, making life incredibly difficult for the Indian batters. But let's talk about England's first innings, which was absolutely torturous to watch as an Indian fan because Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett were playing like it was a T20 match and they wanted to finish it off in that day itself. I mean, just let's look at the blazing start they had, right? They were like 92 for one. But England clearly couldn't build on a big lead, right? Again, we could see a little bit of reckless batting, just, not being able to establish those partnerships. So, Hariprasad, again, how would you look at it? England just not being able to, sort of capitalize and make the most of it. India's brilliant bowling that we will obviously get to again. Like, how would you sort of, assess it?
Baseball being baseball, I would say. I mean, nothing surprising over there. They just went around trying to score runs at a very fast pace, and they just ended up doing that yet again. So frustrating, I would say. I think a lot of looseness were bowled by the Indian bowlers as well. They weren't like consistent with the lines and stuff, and that was repeatedly being shown as the bowlers kept bowling. So frustrating. That was more frustrating as compared to the way England batted. I think England batting is not. I mean, England batting in that manner is not a surprise to us, but then, and it's not frustrating as well because they've done that before as well against good attacks too. But seeing our bowlers giving those gifts away, uh, like Mark Nicholas would say, you can't keep giving the batting team gifts like that, and that just kept happening like throughout, and a lot of looseness being bowled here and there, and the English batters just capitalized on those gifts that were given to them. And that's where we saw Crawley and Duckett stitching up a good partnership of 92. And eventually, I think Duckett had to fall with that brilliant ball from Akash Deep. I think Akash Deep has kept Duckett in check in the whole series, if I'm not wrong. Bowled really well to him, and on more or so on a lot of occasions ended up picking his wicket. So hats off to Akash Deep, and that's where the collapse started for England, I would say. Despite 50 from Harry Brook and some resistance from Pope and Root as well. But again, that wasn't enough. And I think the fact that Vokes wasn't available to bat already meant that England were 10 down, and they were only 10 man batting attack over there. So that would have missed them as well. Had Vokes been the fit to bat, I think they would have probably been looking at a slightly bigger score, because we know Chris Vokes is a good batter as well, and I think he can, like Raman mentioned, he's taken the game away from us on various occasions before. With 100 as well, I think at Lords, if I'm not wrong. So, having said that, I think if had Vokes been there, I think we would have probably not seen a collapse in the lower order, and he'd have given some resistance of some sort, and ensured that England get a bigger score. I mean, but yeah, having said that, Hardik, you're spot on. Like, they ended up collapsing, and I think slight credit to be given to the bowlers as well. Indian bowlers, I think Siraj and Prasidh started their onslaught, 4 wickets apiece, with Akash Deep contributing that 1 wicket of Ben Duckett, which basically triggered the collapse. So, having said that, I think credit should be given to these bowlers as well. And I think there were a lot of occasions where spin could have been tried. I think Gill probably missed out on the trick, but then I think he stuck to his pace bowlers, and eventually they ended up delivering.
Yeah, very true. And as you rightly said, great chunk of credit has to go to the bowlers itself. And that's why we probably come to Naman with this one on just Siraj, right? His 4 wicket haul. It's interesting that I bring Siraj here because the kind of dismissals, right? He got Ollie Pope, Joe Root, Harry Brook, and Jacob Bethel out. These are massive names, right? And big dents to any middle order. The moment you get them out, you know the match is like wide open. So yeah, Naman, like how would you look at just Siraj's impact in this first innings and how he kind of just tilted the match in India's favor?
So one observation about Siraj and specifically for the first inning, not just Siraj, even the other Indian pacers, and we can probably extrapolate it to the entire series as well. There have been so many instances where we know that they have the ability to keep the batters in check, to bowl the lines and lengths which do not allow the batters to score. But there is this uncanny habit of spraying one down the leg every over or once in every 2 overs and giving them the boundary and just easing away all the pressure that they've put. And that was thoroughly on display in the first half of the partnership that Ben Duckett and Zach Crawley put up at the top. Every over, I repeat, every over for the first 8 or 10 overs, there were 1 or 2 deliveries sprayed down the leg and just flicked off the pads for a 4. Now, you cannot afford to do that in Test cricket. This was one thing that was a key highlight across Umesh Yadav's career that I observed. And with all due respect to him, he had a great career and bowled those spells on the docile wickets in India and got those wickets for us. But we saw that thing with him, and there were many occasions where he would bowl great deliveries, but then just release all the pressure by bowling one down the leg, and probably that would also take away some confidence from within him. We can say the same for our set of bowlers, the current set of bowlers. You're bowling well, you spray one down, the pressure is released, and then you feel slightly underconfident that okay, probably try something else, try something else. And that's where in the first innings, I think the bowlers tried a lot to attack the stumps and bowl the ball in, bowl those in swingers to get the ball of the LBW. And something which they really improved upon in the second innings, which we'll probably discuss later. But now coming specifically back to Siraj, I mean, he has that ability to attack the stumps and get the wickets. It's just that when he's on song, when he's motivated and when he's focused, a lot of times he gets carried away with emotion. If he's giving away a few runs, he'll get carried away with emotion and he'll try too hard. He has himself admitted to it at times that he tries a bit too hard and then he loses his focus and doesn't believe in the process. But whenever he does well and whenever anybody asks him that you did so well, what do you have to say? He always goes on to say, I just focus on the process that I have to follow. I just focus on my lines and lengths and the wickets will come. He uses the word performance a lot of times कि last game में मैं अच्छा फेंका पर performance नहीं मिला पर कोई बात नहीं इस game में भी वैसा ही करना था तो उस पर performance अच्छा मिला. That's all that he does and that's all he needs to do. obviously the kind of character he is, there will be days where he loses emotion, which is very frustrating for us as fans. For me, like when I saw Crawley and Duckett build that partnership, I mean, along with some other reasons as well, I couldn't just watch it going on, especially because of all the nasty stuff that I've spoken about Crawley over here on the show. So it really comes back to bite you in as a not just bite you, it pinches you as a double-edged sword. But again, like he just needs to be focused, and he'll get those wickets in doing the way he does. Also, one key thing that we also need to note here is about the ball's condition. The Dukes, it's not really been doing a lot in the first 10 or 12 overs, but later on, as it grows a bit older, it's around the 18 or 20 over mark that it really begins to do something for the bowlers. And probably that is the phase where Siraj really started to get a lot of his wickets up. And eventually, as the ball got older as well, it still kept doing a bit. So probably that's a place where the batters found it a bit easier to score off the newer ball in the beginning. And the ball is hard over there. So it being rainy, it being a bit humid as well, there's a possibility that the ball would have gone soft, and that's where the batters could not have gotten a lot of runs over there. So just some things that we can just observe and think about. Wouldn't really know for sure unless we're there on the ground about these.
Yeah, actually true. And England, ended up scoring like 247, which was far from ideal, right? Again, it just ensured that the match was wide open, and India kind of capitalized on it. And that's where, India's second innings comes into focus. Probably let's take a moment, right, to talk about Yashasvi Jaiswal. That 118 was, I don't know, I call it relieving as Indian fans because we've just seen him score daddy hundreds every single time. Saw a lean patch in between, and, back to seeing him score those big ones. So again, Hariprasad, how would you assess his not just the way, right, he adapted between both those innings? The first innings was not ideal for him coming back here and just doing that. Like under pressure, it just talks a lot, right, about his growth and evolution, and just gives us a good idea of where he's headed to, right?
Time and time he keeps showing that he loves this opposition a lot. He loves playing against England, having played majority of his games against this opposition, and just goes on to show that he loves batting against England. And this century over here was no less. Did have his struggles in the series throughout. I think apart from the Leeds 100 that he got, if I'm not wrong. Apart from that, I think he did get some scores here and there, but then I think this 100 was missing, and it was required, I think, for his confidence as well. He's someone who runs high on confidence and needs that to probably just get on with his game. He's another, I would say, someone that would fit the baseball template. I'd say someone who can score quick and get those starts that England have 11 players for, basically. I think Jaiswal is someone who can do that for India as well. And I think he did that too. I think he did score with a good strike rate over there. His 118 came with a strike rate of 71. So having said that, I think he did end up showing that why he's like the incumbent test opener along with KL Rahul. So happy to see Yashasvi play the way he did. And I mean, he's a young guy. I think he's been learning, and it's never easy for a youngster to be touring England. With us having I mean, when a player like Virat Kohli ends up having horrid test tours until that one in 2018. I think as a youngster, that puts a lot of pressure on you, because I think a lot of these folks look up to Virat as their inspiration. And having looked at him play and stuff like that, when I mean, that put a lot of pressure, like, okay, maybe he is not performing. So I think he's not performed well on these tours. I think I should ensure that it not does not get to his head or something like that. And I think it's going to be tough for any youngster. And I think Jaiswal has responded well, although there were some inconsistencies here and there. But having said that, I think this oval 100 that he had, I think does show that he's here to stay, and why he's the incumbent test opener, like I mentioned. So happy for Jaiswal, and I just hope he continues to churn these runs everywhere he plays.
Yeah,
Jaiswal,
I mean,
ball, correct,
yeah.
exactly.
Our live chat already giving terms here because Jaiswal has clearly, given us a lot of reasons to celebrate him. I mean, it's been such an interesting couple of months, right? Scoring runs. like across very difficult terrains and surfaces, be it Australia, be it England. Hopefully, he continues to just grow from strength to strength. But other major talking points, obviously, from India's second innings have to be Akash Deep, right, coming in as night watchman, scoring that 66. I think someone in our live chat also goes on to mention it was that sort of a surprise package. Naman, what did you make of this, right? Do you think those runs just ended up turning out to be so handy for India? Much later, we saw contributions coming in yet again from Jadeja, from Dhruv Jurel himself, Washington Sundar, and all of that. Just a very collective, team batting effort that ensured India had a very, very competitive 396 and just felt game on from that point.
Definitely, definitely. Just one thing to add a bit about Jaiswal over here. I believe, except the Lord's test wherein Archer got the better of him, he had a 50 plus score across all the four games. So barring that one game where he just couldn't probably come to terms with the way Archer was bowling, he just made him his money in that particular game, and he probably didn't have the best of the times. He did have scores to show across the test matches. There was an 80 odd in the second game, and there was a 50 odd in the fourth game as well. And if your opener is giving you 150 in 4 out of the 5 test matches, in India, you would take it with both hands twice on a Saturday. So that way, I think it was good stuff from his part. And now coming to Akash Deep, well, it definitely was a surprise package, because the night watchman culture in particular, if we talk about it, during the Ravi Shastri era, India was probably moving away from it, except the practice game that we had at Adelaide, where in the month of December in 2020, which was with the pink ball. There something happened which I don't recall exactly what happened. Bumrah walked out at number 3, and then few things happened in 1 hour, which we don't talk about. But other than that, we haven't really seen a lot of night watchmen during Ravi Shastri's era. During Dravid's time, it did come up a few times, but now during Gambhir's time, I think we are really seeing that he wants to save his batters in the last few overs of the day. And I think somebody like Akash working out is a candidate who can do it well. We've seen him defend the ball properly. When he goes for the drives, he plays the drives properly as well. For him, it's not just about negotiating what the bowler is putting up. He has the batting ability, because I believe somebody mentioned, I remember reading it somewhere or listening somewhere, that he started off as a batter and then eventually transitioned into becoming a bowler. So he has that within him, and his obsession with the MRF bat of Virat, I think, has really led to him to get a score at number 4 for India now. So I think MRF should be watching it and seeing. Did he have the MRF bat this time or not? I'm not too sure. No, right? I think somebody from MRF needs to give him a call now. He deserves it again, I guess. There was another stat that number 4s to get 50 for India in England, and there was Sachin, Gill, Kohli, and Akash Deep in the last few years. And there was just one more. I think somebody from the 70s or 80s was also there. So that's the club that he has managed to enter. So MRF, you're known for the Pace Academy, so better give your own sticker to a pacer now as well. And it was lovely to see, and that really dented the England bowlers, because you would have wanted to get him out the previous night itself. Having not gotten him out, because back then you would have wanted Gill to walk out and probably get him overnight as well. That would have been a bonanza. But it did not happen. Then Akash came, he batted for around 1.5 hours. That really sucks away the energy from the opposition. You are thinking that you'll get him overnight. Then half hour happens, 1 hour happens, then 90 minutes go on, and you still haven't had the number of that night watchman. So I think it's probably time that we can address him as a night hawk, the way we used to call Stuart Broad, than a night watchman. He's probably earned that credit to him for this particular innings. But of course, I think more than this, what now he should be assessed for or tested for and needs to do to actually get that MRF sticker, jokes apart, is really stand tall when India needs him to down the order. When he's walking out at number 8 or number 9, given the combination of the team, if he's able to stitch a good partnership, a 100 run out partnership with the batter at the other end, and able to add 100 runs more to the total, 150 runs more to the total, that would probably not have happened if he would have gotten out, would be his real litmus test. And let's see how he goes on about that. Here it was not expected. Now he has set an expectation. We have seen him to tong the ball back in India as well. We've seen him to score a few hits in Australia as well. But this really puts him in the company of Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Mohammad Shami to being able to score 50s in England, paces to be able to score 50s in England. So now he has set a benchmark for himself, and let's hope he comes with flying colors whenever the next time he walks out to bat for India.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope it's not a one-off sort of a situation. But yeah, Hari Prasad, please go on. You had to
Just
add
to
something.
add on, I think the name you were missing was Gavaskar, if I'm not wrong, in that coveted number 4 test. I think I remember seeing that stat too. And I think just before, I mean, after the end of day two, and I just put a tweet on Twitter saying that would be scenes if Akash Deep delivers something which Jason Gillespie did as coming as a night watchman, where he scored that 201, and I think he delivered really well. And one more point, I think a lot of them were surprised, but I would say I wasn't. I think seen Akash Deep that he can bat. I think in the test at Gaba where he stitched that partnership with Bumrah at the end of the before the last wicket. Uh, I think he scored like a 31 and scored like I think he scored a six as well. I mean, I think he did show that he could bat as well, and after that, now numerous occasions he's been promoted as the night watchman. Like Naman rightly mentioned, I think Gambhir has shown a lot of faith on shielding his batters when the day nears its end. And Akashdeep has repeatedly been chosen as the incumbent night watchman to probably like shield the batters, and I think this time he ended up proving the fact that he can bat a bit as well and probably shield the batters further if required. And having said that, I think like Norman mentioned, he's set a precedent at the moment, and a lot of expectations would be on him when he comes out to bat.
So I'm not sure
Yeah.
he'd want to go the Jason Gillespie way because that might be the end of his career. He
So
would
it's
want to
only
play a
in
lot.
the context of that innings. That's it.
He would want to play a lot, many tests.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think as fans, we'd hope it was not a one-off sort of a situation, but an amazing knock at it. 66 very crucial runs added, and later we saw contributions coming in from Jadeja, Dhruv Jurel, and Washington Sundar that sort of really helped. I think we have another comment that goes on to say, yeah, need to appreciate Jadeja also, right? He has shown his all-rounder capability with his ability to bat in almost all the matches except the first ones. Again, no complaints. I think this was a point that Hariprasad and I spoke about so much in our previous live too, right? Just the way Jadeja has contributed as a batter, I think second to none. So again, no second thoughts about that. But yeah, that all of these efforts kind of helped India get to 396. I think Josh Tongue was spectacular again. Picked a fiver. It was amazing with his line and length. But just was erring, slightly on the expensive side. Went for almost like what 4 clicks, 4.16 economy and all of that. But let's talk about England's second innings, right? Again, here it was a situation where Ben Duckett and Zach Crawley gave them a very solid start. Yet, England ended up on the wrong side of the result. Again, I'll probably direct this one to like Hari Prasad again about just thinking in terms of it being a missed opportunity, right, for England. They felt like they were on track. There was a little bit of a collapse. You had Joe Root, Harry Brook, all of them, scored centuries. Yet, it just felt very bizarre the way, they just kind of lost the plot. So yeah, I mean, this was probably another one of those situations where Ben Stokes, the captain, the batter, was largely missed. So again, how would you just put in perspective?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned in the start of the live show as well, I think he was really missed. Stokes was really missed in the whole game, I would say. I think with respect to his captaincy as well, I mean, with respect to captaincy as well, I think going to the second innings of India's batting, I think there were a lot of places where Pope kept bowling his pacers when they were like out of steam and stuff like that. And I think that's when it propelled Washington to probably play those shots and get that 50 and that partnership with Brussels as well. So having said that, I think in captaincy as well, I think in England were missing Stokes a lot. And coming back to the England second innings, I think, yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the fact that your best, I mean, your captain and your safety blanket, as they call him, and that was missing a lot. So I would say that I mean, Bethel is. I mean, I've mentioned this before as well on previous lives that Bethel is someone who's not had a first class century yet. And it was clearly seen. I think he was struggling to like put bat on ball. I mean, ball on bat, and eventually had to get out for a cheap score in both the innings actually. I mean, and it was a huge responsibility for him to fill in the shoes of Ben Stokes. So, having said that, I think it was a lot of pressure on him, and eventually had to bear the brunt. Unfortunate to see Jamie Smith miss out again. I think he had a good start to the series, but eventually tapered off. And in the last few 2 3 tests or something like that. So it was unfortunate. I think a lot was expected from him. I mean, from all of us actually, to probably get that like contribute a lot with the bat. I think, and he ended up tapering off at the end of the series, in the fag end of the series. So unfortunate over there. So having said that, I think a lot of expectations were there on the lower order as well. I mean, Overton and Atkinson being like batters and who can probably deliver with the bat as well along with the ball. Much were expected from them as well, but it all comes down to the bowlers. Siraj and Prasidh, I think they were the highlight of the game completely. I think Siraj ending up with a fifer this time in the second innings just shows that why he's there at the top along with Bumrah. I mean, time and time people keep hyping up Jasprit Bumrah for the bowler he is, but I think it's time we start hyping Siraj as well for the bowler he is. I mean, he's someone who's playing consistently. Unfortunate to Bumrah for the injuries that he got, but whenever he's not been available, I think Siraj has stepped up time and time, having played continuously without a lot of rest apart from the Champions Trophy, I think. And I'm speaking this for like across formats. So he's shown that time and time that he's why he's very vital to any Indian side that he plays, and I think the FIFA that he got is just another amazing performance by him. So having said that, Siraj finally, I mean, stepped away from "I'm only believe on Jasibai" to believing on himself. So really happy for him, and I mean, subsequent series, I do hope he's managed well. I mean, I would say that it can take a toll, and we saw what happened with Chris Wokes as well, where he was unfortunately injured after having played all the 5 Test matches, and then. I think a lot of if we're talking about England's batting, I think massive respect to Chris Wokes as well, coming out with the sling on his hand and trying to ensure that England try to get a win, because they were close. I mean, they were close to getting that win, and I'll be honest. I think I went and going like after the end of day four, I just went and like logged off saying that okay, probably England might go for the win and might end up winning the game because of the fact that there were bowlers who can bat at the crease, and we know how Atkinson is, and he's a really good batter. And Overton as well started off his career with a 90 odd against New Zealand in 2022. So having said that, I would say like. Probably it might be a tough task for the Indian bowlers, but having said that, there were very few wickets to be picked as well, and yeah, I mean, hats off to the Indian bowlers at the end of the day for cleaning up the game so far, like as fast as possible. So having said that, really happy.
Just one thing to add on the Vokes bit. It would really be interesting to see what Ben Stokes has to say about injury replacements now. This just for the drama, just for the entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did want to get your thoughts, Naman and Hariprasad, on the whole aspect of the substitutions, right? How it works in Test cricket. I think a lot of fans have been calling that if an injury like this happens, last match it was Rishabh Pant, this time around it was Chris Woakes, and the fact that like how for concussion substitutes you can actually bring in another player, replace them for the whole game. Do you think? injuries like this kind of merits a discussion. I'd probably start with Hariprasad on this one, then Naman can take over. And do you think like for like substitution or something like that should be considered because of these external injuries or like just injuries in general?
I think I remember reading this tweet from Stephen Finn, where he goes on to say that there should be no injury substitutions in Test cricket. The game is played over 5 days for a reason, and some teams bat long in order to wear a bowling unit down. If you could substitute a fresh bowler in because of injury, it would just be wrong. Also, on how on earth do you determine what an injury is? MRI scanners at every ground to check a muscle tear, and this was tweeted during the Manchester game, so it pertains to Punt's injury. So he goes on to say that Punt's injury is a real shame, and the match will be less rich with him not taking part. But it's part of the game, unfortunately. So having said that, I don't agree with the fact that we should have injury replacements. After all, this is a test match at the end of the day, and the game keeps testing you as and when you keep playing. And just because someone gets injured in the game, it's part of the game. I mean, you might get injured in the game and then you might not be available to like play, but it gives an undue advantage over for the team against the opposition. And I think I remember discussing this with you back in the live show that we had back in February when Harshit Rana was brought in as a substitute for Dubey, as a concussion substitute. So they had a pure bowler and for like a batting all rounder. So having said that, it does give an undue advantage, and I would say that it's part of the game. It happens. It's very unfortunate, but it's all a part of the game. And I don't think I think it should continue with the fact that there should be no injury replacements, because anything can happen at the end of the day, and and it's a game of 5 days. I don't think you should be allowed to give yourself like an extra advantage by getting in a fitter player or something like that. So having said that, yes, I'm completely against injury replacements.
I also agree with the same because it becomes very ambiguous. How do you define what are the protocols in place? How do you ensure that the particular team doesn't uh, take any disadvantage of an injury replacement just to be in a better situation in a game? So I do not think that there is room. Like, jokes apart, I do not think there should be any injury replacements across formats, not just a test, be it ODI, be it T20, any form of cricket. I don't think it should be there because it will really go haywire. Already we see with DRS, there's so much confusion. There are so many things that are going on. People still do not agree with half the decisions that DRS is overturning or it is not. So it will just add a lot more complication to the already complicated game that we have to play over here. But the only thing, like the only argument that one can make is if there is a concussion substitute, why not an injury substitute? That is the only argument that could be made because at the end of the day, a concussion also uh, leaves the player in a position wherein they cannot go out and play. Same thing goes on with an injury as well. If somebody has a broken foot, they they literally have to hobble along and make their leg in a way where it can aggravate even further. Now, how do you distinguish between the two? Obviously, concussion is something which is a lot more internal. It can really lead to incidents that we've already seen in the past, and that is what led to the occurrence of concussion substitute coming in as a rule as well. But that's the only counter argument one could make when people say no to an injury replacement. And I mean, that's all about. Even I think with concussion substitution, we've seen that now they've laid out the norms that at the beginning of a game itself, the team has to name who would come in for a player if in case there is a concussion that's going on. So at least now, to some level, there is a predetermination. It is not like if you with the same situation, probably heading into a T20 game, you would not name Harshit Rana as the concussion substitute before the game starts. You would probably name another batter. You'd probably name Washington Sundar if he's not in the 11. You'd probably name Anitish Kumar Reddy if he's not in the 11. Or Arinku Singh if he's not in the 11. You would not name Harshit Rana. But given the situation of the game, you would do it in a strategic manner. So to some extent, they are building up towards that. But with injury replacements, it is a very different dynamic altogether. Like Hari mentioned, getting a fresh pair of legs to bowl the overs, that would really not suit the opposition in that particular regard. So yeah, That's my 2 cents on this.
No, fair points, and well articulated, both of you. I think it does leave a lot of room for ambiguity, and probably cricket does not need it right now with already some very confusing rules that sort of exist. But I remember this discourse just being all across social media, like Rishabh Pant, there should have been a replacement, and even Chris Wokes, just walking out with that broken arm, really not making for a great viewing. But then again, just goes on to show how brave he was, just putting everything on the line there for his team as well. But I think, yeah, through our discussion, we've spoken about Siraj, about Prasidh, how lethal they were, to kind of ensure that India won. And I think we can romanticize and talk for days on end about how that day five sort of panned out and the nature of Test cricket itself. But guys, let's look at some other bigger questions, right? As we almost reach the fag end of our discussion, where we just actually review the series. We have spoken for almost 6 live streams, and I think we've reached that stage where we can actually just put this series in perspective at large, not just the fifth test itself. So let's start with Hari Prasad on this one about what do you think, are the biggest takeaways for India from the series? Like be it tactically, be it technically, even just mentally, right? This was a long test, right? Long test series, 5 matches. And we saw a lot of things that worked, didn't work, but at large, like if you just had to give it a thought.
I would say that I mean, first test series for Gill as captain, having been dropped at the Border-Gavaskar Trophy earlier and then coming in as captain, I think a lot of pressure was on him, and he also kept mentioning about the fact that he wanted to perform for the team and probably like keep scoring a lot of runs. And I think he's lived up to to his words, and rightly so, being named the player of the series this tournament. So, and as a captain as well, I mean, I would say he's still learning, as we keep mentioning during the live shows. I think it's a work in progress for him as a captain. So I think a lot of good calls were made and a lot of bad calls as well. But I think that's part of the learning process at the end of the day, and it's only upwards for him. That's how I see it, because I wouldn't say it was completely off the game or something like that. I think he did have some good calls here and there, motivating his boys to come out and play in that oval test. I would say that shows a lot of temperament as a captain. So I would say that he's here to stay, and the curve is only going to be upwards for him as a test captain. So hats off to him. And Jadeja, I think every live stream I keep mentioning why he's so vital, and I think he's proved that at like time and time and again in the same manner. He ends up doing the same in the oval test as well. I think I remember reading a stat where had Jadeja not been dismissed in the second innings, then he would go on to have the most number of runs scored in a 5 match series or something like that, without having been dismissed in the second innings. And that's a great feat to have, but unfortunately ended up getting dismissed. But doesn't take away his greatness. So I would say that hats off to Jadeja. I think he's he's put all his doubters to rest. And then Washington, I think, was the find of the series. Even though I know he's done it well for India before, but I think in that role he's come in, and a lot was expected out of him, and he's delivered it really well, both with the bat and ball. I think those lower order contributions were very important, and I think he delivered, coming in at number 5 in the Manchester Test with Pant not being available and scoring that century with Jadeja. I mean, he was put in a lot of pressure situations and he's responded really well. Even with the ball, I think not being introduced until very late in the game, and then going on to pick those wickets like whenever required. I would say that Washington Sundar was had a really good tour as in the whole series. So hats off to him as well. And Sai Sudarshan did have a like I would say like a difficult tour, and it's never easy to be touring England. That too being your debut tour, I think it puts a lot of pressure on you. But I think he did respond fairly. Got a 50 in the tour as well. So I think hopefully he's given a long run as the games progress. I think we've got a tour against home series against West Indies coming up. Hoping that he gets a consistent run at number three over there. So that would be one of the things I think Karun Nair brought back into the side. I think responded well only in the last test with a 50. Apart from that, got those starts here and there, but did not really capitalize on them. Rishabh Pant showing why he's Rishabh Pant. I think getting back into his groove. Unfortunate that he had to miss the last test and majority of the Lords and the Manchester test due to injuries. But hats off to him again. I think time and time he keeps showing why he's the superstar at the moment, and I think being the named the vice captain of the side also has its own perks. KL Rahul had a good series as well. I think a lot of the social media, like cricket Twitter, basically kept telling that he was probably the best test batter. I mean, best batter of from India in the whole series, and I do agree to an extent. I mean, I feel Jadeja and Gill are up there too, but then I think KL had a really good series as well. Not the first test wonder as people keep calling him. So having said that, I think he had a good series. Bumrah showing why he's Bumrah. But I would say I think the best bowler in the series had to be Mohammed Siraj. I mean, did have his ups and downs here and there, but then having played all the 5 games and still consistently performing, hats off to him. And he's like a gem for India, in my opinion. And I hope he's always fit and ready to play for India whenever required. Rolls Royce of Indian cricket team, good one. But yeah, that's my take on the whole series, I would say. And coming to England, I think a lot of changes there as well. I think new bowling attack with Chris Wokes being named the leader of the English bowling attack. Then I mean the usual baseball. I think us facing them with this approach at home, probably the first time ever. I mean, apart from the game that we played at Edgbaston in 2022. So I would say that I mean we did respond well. Ended up leveling the series 2-2. So having said that, I think Ben Stokes showing why he's one of the greats in the game. Um, had a phenomenal series with the ball, more than the bat. Not saying he didn't do well with the bat, but I think the performances with the ball overshadows his performances with the bat, I would say. So Brent Stokes showing that he's a complete all-rounder. I think that this series is a testament to that. And Jamie Smith, Harry Brook, all the youngsters showing up why they're vital to this side. Ben Duckett had a good start to the series as well, and continue to perform with a little bit of little falls here and there. But I would say I think he had a good series as well. And Zach Crawley, I mean, hot and cold again. I think he did have a few 50s here and there, but apart from that, nothing great. Ollie Pope had a good start, but again tapered off as well. Root being consistent as usual, record-breaking century at Manchester, and one more century at the Oval as well. So, having said that, I think he's just here to stay and probably go on to break Sachin's record of the most runs as well. I mean, would be an on. I think there's no one close to him apart from that. So I would say, yeah, I mean, hats off to Root as well. Bryden Cass deserves a special mention as well. I think he had a good series with the ball, 4 tests that he played, and even chipped in with some lower order contributions. So hats off to Baron Cars and Chris Wokes too. I think having played all 5 games, it's not easy at all as a bowler, and unfortunate that he had to get injured while fielding in the game. But coming out to bat in that last innings, I mean, coming out to bat at number 11 and ensuring that they win the game, I think hats off to him. So all in all, a brilliant series, and had thoroughly had fun.
Yeah, same. And I think you answered that really well, Hari Prasad. Really put things in perspective for both the teams. And Naman, I will direct the same question to you as well. Biggest takeaways for India and England. And probably you can also reflect a little bit about the context, right, of what this means. The World Test Championship, each and every test match obviously counts. So again, takeaways, learnings for both the sides, and how do you just look at it?
First of all, to just just as an overall verdict on the quality of the cricket that we have seen in the series, I wouldn't say from a quality perspective it was the best quality of cricket that we have seen in the recent times and even before. I mean, both the sides were a little bit better than mediocre. I think we can say mediocre would be a bit too harsh for both the sides. They were a bit better, but what made it interesting was that they both were almost equally good. At no point could you say that one team is completely outperforming the other and they are just dominating. I think there were just certain instances, probably in the second test, we could say that India really dominated England and it was just a one-way street over there. But other than that, each team had their moments, each team had their sessions in the game, and no point. I mean, I think except the second game, all the four games you saw how late did they go. Even the first one, I think beyond an extent, England really started to dominate once day five began. But the third, fourth, and the fifth game were just even Stevens in that regard. So it really made it interesting because of that bit of mediocre, that bit of mediocre cricket that both the sides played in those patches of play. However, having said that, both teams have a lot to look into to improve. Obviously, 2-2 is not something that England would be happy with. They would not be happy with it at all, it being in their home. India would have liked to have won one more game down the line. I think the first and the third games we could have really had a chances over there, but like a bit of luck was not on our side in the third game. But in the first game we bowled pretty bad, and in the third game our second innings did not go very well. So that's where we allowed England to win those games in those important situations, and that is why the scoreline reflects what it does. Now, beyond that, I think if we just go on to look at both the sides across, I think Hari has mentioned player by player how each and everyone went ahead. Now, just giving a bit more context to it, I think now we are rest assured that KL Rahul is going to be our opener. It should have been established a while back, but now that with Rohit going away, it was a given, and I'm very happy for that one particular thing that India is now absolutely certain that KL and Yashasvi are going to be their openers for this cycle for sure. There is no way that is going to change unless injury. There's no reason for it to change. Beyond this cycle as well, they probably should be, but of course, the results and the performances will have a role to play in that. So we are sorted with the top. It's the only number three is the only place wherein Sai Sudarshan has to be given a longer rope. We have 4 tests coming up at home before we go away again. I think he should be the one playing in that position for these 4 games against West Indies and South Africa. And beyond that, I think the team is largely settled in the subcontinental conditions. You probably have to decide which spinner would you not play among Akshar, Sundar, Jadeja, and Kuldeep. And I mean, we'll probably get to that when the time comes. And other than that, I think the Indian team is largely settled in the subcontinental conditions. Probably not play Bumrah and Siraj and give the others a chance. They've shown enough. So from that context, I think in the longer run, before the heading into the series, there were questions that okay, Bumrah will probably not play all the tests. He'll play only 3 tests. And I mean, all the trolls and jokes and stats aside, if he did actually end up winning the 2 games that Bumrah didn't feature him. So this just goes on to show that this team can win a test match away from home with a very young side without their best bowler against the likes of the baseball batters that England possesses at this point of time. So a huge show of confidence in the existing set of bowlers. I'm pretty sure, I think we discussed it in the beginning as well, that let's see if Prasidh is getting more opportunities, does he improve or not? And I think towards the end, we have seen that he has been able to understand what is required of him in these conditions. And I'm glad that he would have now a lot more confidence in himself, whether he's playing across conditions. Now he would probably execute his lines a bit better. About Akash Deep, he had a great start, tapered off a bit, but then he also had the shoulder injury. He would take away a lot of confidence from this tour as well. So when we were heading into the tour, there were a lot of questions. I believe most of them have been answered, and the team looks pretty settled at this point of time. But of course, let's see how do our own batters fare against spin in the home conditions, because that's been a nightmare in the recent times. So that's going to be something to really look forward to. Now, talking about England, I still feel that they would be the side less happy at the end of the series, not just because of the scoreline, but overall because of the way their players have gone about it. You are still not absolutely confident in Crawley, at least like by the looks of it. They show a lot of confidence in him, but he doesn't have much to write home about his performances. So that's still a question mark. How long would you probably back him in the Ashes? They'll probably back him for all the 5 games. But will he really go on to deliver what is expected of him against the bowling attack of the Aussies is a big question mark. When apart from that, I think Ollie Pope, he does a bit here and there. He shows some quality, then he again tapers off. So that's been his entire career throughout. So let's see how he goes on to respond. But he's him being the vice captain, and he's been standing in for Stokes whenever required. So he will definitely play all the 5 games without any doubt in the Ashes. Root has given performances. Brook has given performances. Ben Stokes, I think, uh, he's really shown the world that he is prepared and ready as the all-rounder that we have always known him for. And I believe this series we have seen him deliver with both bat and ball equally well. I can't remember a lot many series where he has delivered with both bat and ball that well. He was probably the best bowler that England put up, and that's there to be seen. Really happy about Jamie Smith. He's shown the world that he's had the talent in the first 3 games. Even before that, tapered off a bit towards the end, but that's the confidence that gives the England side that you can go baseball all the way, and you have the likes of Stokes and Jamie Smith down the order, along with your other bowlers who can bat as well. So that, in that sense. But the main question that still looms over England is their bowling combination. They have not really been able to pick up the 20 wickets with that much ease. The Indian lower order has been able to annoy them. You're still not sure who your spinner is heading into the Ashes. They might still back Bashir like they're backing Crawley, but I don't think that's the right approach to go about it. That's going to be a big question mark. You probably have a decent understanding of who are your 3 or 4 quicks that you're going to field, but it again, you need to be very clear in your mind about who are you going to start with, who's going to play which games in specific conditions, who's going to be your man to go. Because Josh Tongue, while he can bowl those wicket-taking deliveries, he can go haywire, which we have seen extremely in this game. There were occasions where he was just bowling wild deliveries down leg and the offside, but then he also picks up those wickets. So a bit more consistency from that guy in particular. And then apart from that, I think these are a few questions that they really need to answer. The fitness of Jofra Archer as well. The 2 games that he played, he really looked like he is back to the Jofra Archer, or getting back to the Jofra Archer that we know him for. How many games can he give you in the Ashes? Let's see. How many games will Mark Wood give you in the Ashes? Mind you, England have been able to draw this series without Mark Wood featuring, without Atkinson featuring in 4 tests, without Archer featuring in 3 tests. So those are guys you would want to be fit and available in the Ashes. You would want to rotate them around so that the quality, the manner of bowling, that the style of bowling that they offer in each game, it is being matched. So those are some things where, with regards to player management, they have to. They are still not. They still don't have the answers of how they should probably go about it. So that's the entire reflection of how the scoreline would mean for everyone. And with regards to the WTC cycle, I think it's pretty good for India because uh, being away from home, you've managed to get 50% of your points. Not 50% exactly, like somewhat less than 50% because of the draw. So you lose 2 points for that. But your opposition, England, lost 2 points for the overhit. So you are still above them in that perspective. So I think India would be happy with the way things stand. But of course, the main threat that we would have to face is our games in New Zealand, because the last 2 tours of New Zealand have been miserable for us. And it has been a while. It's been 5 years now that we haven't gone to New Zealand. The last tour was in 2020 when Prithvi Shaw was still opening the batting for us. So that's how long ago it happened. Shaw and Mayank Agarwal, those are the openers that we had. It's been a very long time, so it's going to be interesting how we fare in those conditions. That Sorry for that. That is around 15 to 18 months away at this point of time. But those 2 games really going to decide the fate for the Indian side. of course, we were very cocky about our home games in the last cycle, and that really didn't go the way we would have expected it to. So let's hope this time the results at home as well as away pan out the way we would expect them to. And you would want to do well in New Zealand. You do not want to go to any country. I think across the three countries, across the four Sena countries, we've had wins in South Africa. We've been in situations where we could have won the series in South Africa. We've drawn the last two series in England. We have won two back-to-back BGTs in Australia and then lost one. New Zealand is the only place where we haven't been able to get good performances in the past decade or so, ever since we've had the resurgence of the Indian team in foreign conditions. So that is one thing that even Virat Kohli couldn't do under his captaincy, MS Dhoni couldn't do under his captaincy. Rohit did not lead us over there. So by then, Gill would have led India at home and he would have gone to New Zealand. So that is going to be a series by when you can actually assess him for his captaincy across conditions and how well he manages his troops over there.
Yeah, I mean, that was also very comprehensive, Naman. Thank you so much for that. Again, does answer a lot of questions probably our, viewers also had. But guys, I think there was one question that Ujjwal had asked us like early on in our conversation that probably now, we can take. He just wants a one-word answer. Of the 21 individual centuries scored, which one was the best? Like, according to us. So I'll probably start with this. I'll have to go with Shubman Gill's 269. I know it's the very obvious answer and like, oh, it's such an easy one. But then honestly, I just keep watching highlights of that now to just try to understand what, like, Gill was batting like a man possessed that day, literally toying with the England attack. And I think it was just such a glorious knock, right? Can't get enough of it. But yeah, certainly not a one word answer. But do you guys have picks of your favorite like knocks from the series, either side? Both the panelists just telling आप पहले, but Naman, you want to start with this? Yeah.
It's of course a tricky one because there were so many great knocks throughout the series. Gill's 269 would be the first on everyone's mind because of the stature, the quality, and the magnitude of the knock that he had played over there. However, I would still like to go for Jamie Smith's 100, the 184 not out that he had played in the second test. I would still like to go for him because of the manner in which he just started. I mean, he walked into bat when England were 84 for 5. That was a situation in which he had walked in. And then the manner in which he just started playing, he went gung ho right from the beginning. I mean, you had Harry Brook at the other end, and he made Harry Brook's shot making and everything look ordinary. That's the amount of class with which he played, and he completely changed the complexion of the game while the two of them were out there. So for me, like, although Rishabh Pant did Rishabh Pant things in during his twin hundreds as well, I still feel that given the situation that he walked out to play in and given the situation where he left the team by the time he got out, that 184 by Jamie Smith would really stand out for me. Though it wasn't a losing cause, England did not go on to win the game. But we see that with so many hundreds that great hundreds do not go on to do not end up in a winning situation. So yeah, that would be my left field pick for the best 100.
Interesting one there, Naman. And Hariprasad, on to you. You've had some time to think about it. Do you have a favorite knock from the series?
I actually do, yeah. I mean, I think I would pick Washi's 100 at Manchester in the second innings. Tough situation for him. We had Rishabh Pant already injured, and we had to ensure that we shield him from coming out to bat. And that's where we send Washington at number 5, a position that he has not played at all in his test, in his test career. I think once he played at number 6, I think against England in 2021, but that was about it. Apart from that, I don't think he's batted at the top order at all. But a situation where Pant is injured, your best batter is injured, and then you have a test match to save as well. Due to the fact that there was a large amount of like runs to be scored and the wickets were falling as well. Even though Gill had put up a century, but I think sending Washington coming in at number 5, a relatively new position for him, like I mentioned, and I think he stitched a really good partnership with Jadeja over there, and ensured that they do not like lose a wicket as the game. I mean, as the game progresses, as the day progressed, because I think Jadeja had like partners along with him whenever he's batted, but they haven't really contributed a lot with runs. But I think that game was when Washington came in and stepped up, and both of them scored twin centuries. But I would still rate Washington's century much higher, only because of the fact that it was a new position for him, and in the context of the game, it was really really important to have a good partnership with someone like a Ravindra Jadeja. So I think 269 by Gill has been spoken by both of you. I think that's top there. But I would rate Washington's 101 and Manchester my best knock in the whole series.
Good one. Good picks, guys. No complaints again. But we've spoken about the batting side of things. Probably let's just keep this our last one. Like your favorite spells, right? Again, you can take some time to think about it because there was just so many, incredible and special spells. For me, I think it has to be Akash Deep, right? The way he just kind of did wonders. I think that has to be my favorite spell, like right up there. But anyways, over to you guys. Do you have any thoughts on your favorite spells from this series?
Since Naman went first last time, let me go first. I don't have a specific spell as such, but I think I was really impressed with Archer at Lords, only due to the fact that I mean, up until the second test at Birmingham, I think a lot of the bowlers kept going haywire here and there, and not a lot of especially with the English bowling, I think a lot of like consistency was not being shown. But I think Archer came in for Lords, and I think he showed a lot of consistency. Immediately removed Jaiswal, and I think that was the test where India also started scoring at a little slower rate, not going at the usual 3.5 or 4 per over. But I think they went under 3 in the first innings and in the second innings, if I'm not wrong. So having said that, I think Archer at Lords, not a spell as such. Maybe the wickets column might not go on to show a lot, but I think Archer at Lords would be my best bowling performance to if I had to pick one.
For me, obviously the heart would immediately go on to talk about Mohammed Siraj, but emotions aside and recency bias aside, I think Ben Stokes, with the spell that he had bowled overs after overs after overs, he gave it every ounce of energy that he had. And the way he said that for the next 2 days, I'm not going to leave my bed, he was really in that kind of situation. And given the context that he was coming in having not really bowled a lot across formats, and then giving the kind of performance that he did, just showing how much it meant for him to win that particular game for his country. So, and the impact that he had on the game as well. Like he probably picked up the fifer in the next game, but at Lords, the way he was teaming in, I think he just his energy, that energy reflected upon the other bowlers as well in that particular game, and he was really able to inspire his troops, and that led to the uh, difference in that particular result in the game, in my opinion. So that spell is damn inspiring.
Yeah, again, solid picks, and I'm very impressed that all of us had such different ways of looking at it. I went for the slightly obvious ones. You guys went for slightly left field choices, but
We didn't
for
mention your
me,
spell.
I took Akash Deep from the second
Oh
test.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Correct.
so that's so interesting that all of us had such diverse picks, but I think that's what is very special about our panel, right? Just our ways of seeing and processing this game. But yeah, I think that does conclude our very lengthy conversation where we reviewed the fifth test and also looked at the series at large. Quite incredible series. I think we can all kind of agree that this was a series where we did see quality cricket at play, and it was always going to be a transition sort of a series for India. The absence of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and Bumrah just playing those three tests. Just so many concerns, and to all the viewers who are still sticking around and watching, probably just watch our preview of the series at large and then watch this to see just how far we've sort of come. And yeah, I think it's just sad that we won't be discussing Test cricket for some time now, because I don't know, the next India plays is like the Asia Cup, and the next Test series we play is like, I don't know
October.
how much. Yeah, October, right? Yeah, so there's Naman has already marked his calendars, and it's probably a cue
Yep.
for us also to
Hopefully, I'll
do
be
that.
there in Ahmedabad for that one.
Fingers
Hopefully.
crossed, yeah. But on that note, guys, I will draw curtains on this discussion. First things first, thank you so much to all the live viewers who joined us and shared your comments. Hopefully, you've stuck around for this 1.5 hour duration where we just talked our hearts all about this series. And to all the viewers, we'll catch this on later. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow Naman and Hariprasad on social media as well. One of our panelists is AWOL on social media, but Hariprasad is very much there on Twitter and Instagram. So check him out there as well. And that's how, guys, we'll keep doing live streams like this to dissect all things cricket. And that's all. Take care. Stay safe, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, everyone.